Namaste all. Welcome to our weekly Saturday morning webinar series. Today's special topic is contemporary lessons from the Valmiki Ramayana, and our special guest today is Sri Shantanu Gupta. And let's just give him a great introduction and get into it. My name is Ankur Patel, Director of Advancement for Hindu University of America, and a panelist to discuss. Also, a course that we're going to be offering is Sri Shantanu Gupta ji. He's the founder of the Ramayana School in India, an Indian author, TEDx speaker, and political analyst. He is a widely published author, and his latest book, BJP Past, Present, and Future, is leading the charts on Amazon. His last book, The Monk Who Became Chief Minister, Biography of Yogi Adityanath, is listed as the most memorable nonfiction, one of the most memorable nonfiction books of 2017 by Amazon India. Shantanuji has an engineering degree from GB Pant University in India and did his master's in policy and politics from Institute of Development Studies, the IDS, University of Sussex in the United Kingdom. Shantanuji has worked for a decade as a process and management consultant in many cities in India, Switzerland, Cyprus, Hungary, and Israel. He has represented India in many international conferences on economy and policy in Germany, Malaysia, and Sri Lanka. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. And also with us is President of Hindu University of America, Sri Kalyan Vishwanathan, who weathered the freezing temperatures and the lack of internet in Dallas and is back on with us, keeping this university and our institution and what we're doing going. So Kalyanji, thank you for your leadership and being on with us and everything that you've been doing to get Hindu University going and connecting to this broader mission that we're on. Kalyanji, I'm sure you have some ideas and thoughts you want to share.
Sure. So great. So thank you, Ankur. And Shantanuji, thank you so much for joining us today. Namaskar. Now, it's been a terrific week in Dallas, Texas. I mean, without power, without internet, without heating, trying to survive the cold weather for over almost a week. It's been an incredible time. But we are coming slowly back to normal. So I think that's the important part of where we are today. I mean, who would have thought a so-called first world nation would suddenly collapse like this, with long lines of people trying to get water, drinking water. It's been an incredible week. And all is not done. I mean, there's a lot of aftermath to deal with, and with pipes broken and ceilings fallen down, and attics getting filled with water, and on and on. So there is just a tremendous amount of breakdown to manage now. So that's just a little bit of a summary of what I have been through in the last week. But the webinar is not about that. It's about the Ramayana. And I want to begin with maybe a personal inquiry, with Shantanu Gupta ji. So Shantanu ji, you had a very good career in management consulting. You are internationally traveled, and you've done a lot of I'm sure very outstanding professional work and so on. How did you get interested in the Ramayana, and what brought you into studying the Ramayana so deeply and setting up the Ramayana school? So if you could start there, then we'll get into the subject.
So Kalyanji, I think in India and all the Indians, wherever they're living, I'm sure they're brought up with the stories of Ramayana, right?
Absolutely.
Like words like from Lakshman Rekha to Hanumanji ki Chalang, and a lot of words are common in our parlance, right? So that way, even I was trained in Ramayana like as stories, right? But never did a inquiry in Ramayana. But a couple of years back, so I'm a father of two children. One is 8, one is 2. And one of my identity, which Ankur Patelji can add, I'm also a homeschooling father. In fact, one of my TEDx talk on homeschooling is quite known. So I think a couple of years back, my son is 8 now. So I was started doing a deep study of Ramayana, like how can it relate to my current context or for a child. But when I started reading it, when I thought, oh my God, such a fantastic text. Like what I saw in the Ramanand Sagar's episode, I'm sure many of us watched.
Yeah.
That's good for sure, because pictorial representation is always good. But when I read through it, the conversation between multiple characters are like, gave me multiple insights in my own relationships with my wife, with my father, with my brother, with my colleagues, superior, juniors, both. Uh, it started giving me amazing insights. And as in my bio told, I also do a lot of social political work. I have done more than 2,000 TV debates. And now I'm seeing that in everywhere I can see. And I think there I see that's why this text is relevant after thousands of years, right? And also the angle of endurance. Whenever I'm sad, whenever I'm down, I'm saying, oh my God, my problems are for sure not bigger than Rama. Rama lost his kingdom. Rama lost his wife. Rama almost lost his life in the war twice, right? And he emerged as a winner, right? So the whole story of Ramayana is the journey of Ramayana. So that way, and also the multiple interaction between the characters helped me discover myself. And my project was to teach my child. That project like became a bigger project, right? So I think, yeah, that way around 5 years back, I started the inquiry. And now I'm in touch with a lot of scholars, and I'm still a student, though I teach a lot of Ramayana, but I'm saying daily I love try to learn a new articulation around Ramayana. Every reading gives me a new insight. So yeah.
So now you titled your course Lessons from Valmiki Ramayana.
Yeah.
Valmiki. Now, obviously, there is so many Ramayanas out there. There is the Ramayana has been told and retold and written and rewritten um, so many times. What makes the Valmiki Ramayana particularly unique? And when you say you have read the Ramayana, I presume you have read the Valmiki Ramayana in the Sanskrit language. Am I correct? Can you share a little bit more about that?
Right. So you're right. There are multiple Ramayanas. A lot of scholars say there are 300 plus and counting. A Islamic country like Indonesia has its own Ramayana, Kakavin Ramayana. Buddhist country, Thailand has Ramakien, which is Ramayana, as their national book, right? Philippines has Ramayana. In India, we have Ramayans. From South, we have Kamman Ramayana, Adhyatma Ramayana. And you'll be surprised, Kalyanji, when I go to Ayodhya, which I do very often, Ramcharitmanas is far more famous than Valmiki Ramayana there, because Ramcharitmanas was written for the purpose of so that people can access it. Because by the time the knowledge of Sanskrit was called diminished, right? Because of a lot of Islamic attacks, a lot of British attacks, right? So Awadhi was a local language written there. It's a dialect of Hindi. So people like keep quoting the verses. They're called chaupais of Ramcharitmanas, like quite often in their normal conversation, in the jokes, in their humor, in their day-to-day life.
Right.
Though I understand Sanskrit, but not to the extent that I can decipher each word of Sanskrit. So yeah, I have done the studying like various very good translation in Hindi, in English, and then assimilated and then came to my conclusions. But again, whenever I have doubt, because there are a lot of shlokas where you can interpret it many ways, then I have my set of scholars, my set of friends, some traditional one who live in Ayodhya, and their sense is again very profound, and some modern scholars. So yeah, that way I assimilated my knowledge. And Valmiki Ramayana, because that's the original Ramayana, right? And in Indian classical text, that's the only Ramayana which is considered the part of Itihasa. Ramcharitmanas is not Itihas. Only Valmiki Ramayana and Vedavyasa Mahabharata are Itihasa. And we will in my session I have kept 5-6 minutes to explain how Ramayana is so important as a part of Itihasa in the whole Indian knowledge system. So yeah, that's my take.
Very good, excellent. So I suppose that leads me to the question. In contemporary times, when scholars approach a text like the Ramayana, and when I say scholars, a large number of them are Western scholars, right? And there are some Indian scholars too. When they approach the text, they approach it with a a particularly well developed historical sensitivity, which is to say that they ask questions of the text. When was it written? When did it happen? Did it happen at all? Or is it just a story that somebody made up? And what role did it have to play in India's history? Did it, for example, who wrote it, for what purpose? What was the motivations behind writing a text like this, right?
Yep.
And they're trying to draw conclusions about the nature of society
Mhm, mhm,
in India
mhm.
as represented in the text.
Yeah.
In other words, what does the text say about the society and culture and traditions of
Right.
India, of Bharat,
Yeah.
at the time at which
Yep.
this text was written?
Right.
That's a particularly historically oriented set of questions, if you
Yeah.
will, right? But we are looking at it completely differently. We are bringing the text to our current day life, and we are asking a different set of questions. Is what lessons can we learn for our own lives today
Right. Right.
from this ancient text?
Right.
What can we learn? What does it have to teach us
Yep.
for our life and how to conduct our lives in today's time and age,
Yep.
when the text was written a long time ago?
Yep.
So so as you can see, there are two ways of two orientations here. One is historical, which confines the text to its period and
Yep.
dismisses its relevance for
Yep.
today. And the other is more contemporary, which is looking at what can we learn from it today. Now, uh, I just sort of set that frame, for the history myth um divide here. You have any insight to offer before we go into the text itself on this point that I have raised?
Yeah. In fact, I have kept 2-3 minutes and some provocation and some text on in my webinar today also. But because you've already raised it,
Mm,
right? So that's one of the major inquiry that I also started with.
mm,
Though as a practicing and believing Hindu, as belief, I thought Ramayana is real and true. But again, for a scientific inquiry, or I also did a inquiry with a lot of scholars, right? And as you rightly said, the word mythology, which comes from a myth, that it's a legend, it's a story, it might be half truth, it might be not true at all. That's the way a lot of Western scholars have put Ramayana into, right? And when and I normally say the itihasa, history is not a correct translation of the word itihasa. And itihasa is a very it's a very packed word, right? And I'll detail it when I'll take the session. One of the lines in the definition of itihasa say purva vrittam katha yuktam. Purva vrittam, which has happened in purva, in past, and which is narrated as a katha, which is narrated as a story, right? And not for the purpose of entertainment. If it entertains you, that's fine, but that's not the whole sole purpose. The purpose is dharma, artha, kama, moksha. All four of them, right? We see in a lot of Western societies, and we were discussing also last week, that in Western societies you keep doing the chase for dharma, for calm and earth, mean pleasing your senses and earning money, and somehow take a shortcut to moksha. For some dharma is missing, right? And and here Ramayana teaches you, okay, in fact, Ramayana legitimizes also, or itihasa legitimizes uh, earning money and pleasing your senses, but within the framework of dharma, and with the ultimate, keeping in mind the ultimate aim is moksha. So for that purpose, any itihasa, Ramayana is one of them, is written, right? So, and there are various ways. Someone like a Nilesh Oak done a beautiful dating of Ramayana. That's one way. There are a lot of, when you do the inquiry of the text itself, you will realize it's written for the purpose of documentation. It cannot be entertaining, right? There are almost 64 forefathers of Rama detailed, and when you read those shlokas, it's boring, literally
mm,
boring. It cannot be the purpose of entertainment.
mm,
I don't want to know the name of Rama's father's father. Like maybe
mm,
his father and his father is enough, right?
mm,
Have you read any fictional book in your life which has
mm,
64 characters forefathers of your protagonist? No, right? So this is on the text side.
64 generations.
Generations, right? Before Rama.
Yeah.
Nobody will do that to spoil their entertaining text. And this is on that plane. On the geography itself, those names, if you see Sugriva's atlas, how Sugriva is describing and sending his Vanaras in different direction, it reaches from Australia to where not, right? Sugriva's own atlas, and the names are relevant even today, right? So this is on the geographical plane. So I think during the session, not even this session, during the class when it will happen, there are a lot of ways that will establish. See, I think Kalyanji, the interesting part is, see, Western history is very new. For them, everything is archaeology. Dig it up and find out. Our history is sold two things. Archaeology is very, very, very costly for us. It's still someone like B.B. Lal had said, if you dig up whole of Meerut, is a city in Uttar Pradesh, you'll find Hastinapur, but you have to destroy whole of Meerut. It's a thriving city. You can't dig up the whole city, right? And it's so costly. First of all, you can't spoil a live city, which is a city now. Lakhs of people are living there. Millions of people are living there. Second, it's like super costly. It's like almost 7,000 years back, layers after layers after layers after layer. I was living in Switzerland. One of my friends took me to a fort. It's a very old fort, 100 years old. I said, 100 years? My grandfather's house is 100 years. Like, that's not a fort.
Right.
So for them, it's very real. They can dig up everything and find out a history. For us, it's not. So we have to find smart ways through language, through now a lot of people are doing hydraulic flows and various other place of maps, the names of the words, the description of flora and fauna. A lot of ways that you can establish without even archaeology, and those smart ways are coming. So I think now establishing Ramayana as a history, that's not tough. A lot of people have done very meticulously, and we will present that in the class. So
it's important perhaps for us to distinguish between history per se as a record of what happened and a narrative about what happened, which is the katha dimension. The katha dimension. So the myth, the mythology and the history are mixed up in the Ramayana.
And for a purpose.
And not for a purpose.
Not only for entertainment, not only for documentation.
Right.
For the purpose of the reader of any time, like even today.
Yeah.
That's very important.
Very good. Very good. Excellent. So the text is then taken out of a particular historical time and cast into a timeless canvas, so to speak.
That timeless is, and that's why your question that what we can learn today, not only today, after 1,000 years also, is as relevant, because no human dimension, no human emotion, no human relationship is left in the text. So I think that's why it's relevant even today, to my understanding.
Yeah. So, and I just want to make one more remark, and then Shantanuji, you can pick up. The extraordinary thing about these books, like the Ramayana and Mahabharata, is that we'll find most Hindu names are derived from characters from these itihasas and Puranas, right? For example, my own name is also is Kalyan Raman, actually, and is named after Rama. And and for example, in naming a child, a baby, the parents want to invoke some small quality from Rama or Krishna or Shiva and so on to somehow manifest in that little baby, and that is the element of this culture. Okay, so somebody is saying it is not mythology, it is history. So you see, I just want to respond to that. See, I think the simplistic dichotomy of it is either this or that. It is either history or it is mythology, which the West has imposed on our itihasas, is an inappropriate framework to understand a text like the Ramayana or even the Mahabharata, for that matter. Let's leave it at that for now, because we're not going to address it fully. It's a much deeper conversation. With that introduction, Shantanuji, your own name is derived from one of the ancestral patriarchs of the Mahabharata.
Right.
So, all of us can reflect on how deep the Puranas and Itihasas has penetrated the Hindu culture, so to speak, right?
And even
So
today,
even
yeah,
today, even today.
yeah.
So with that, please kindly take over and share your presentation.
Okay. Uh, I use a tool, and namaskar to all the people who are joining. Just give me a second. I'll do a small logistics. And I'm giving you a link in the chat window. And I'm sure my chat is reaching everyone, right?
You have to address
Oh,
no,
not to the panelists. I have to
all the
address to
audience.
panelists and attendees. Yeah. So all the attendees, I have given a link to you, a Menti link, and I'm also going to, if you don't like to come on it, because I want you to respond so that I also get to know about you, your responses. But if you're not interested in, you can look my screen also, and my screen should be up there. Can someone, Kalanji, can you give me a cue? Is my screen visible?
Yes, it is.
It is, right? But I'm also inviting again. I'm giving the link in the chat window again. I'm inviting everyone, and Ruchika ji is telling it's available. I'm pasting it multiple times so that you don't miss it. Yeah, you just come on the link. Okay. Okay, so let me spend 30, 40 minutes in taking you to some conversations in Ramayana, right? And before that, let me check like how's the demography like so that I can keep in mind. So if you're already on the link, do you want to respond which city, state, country are you living in right now? And you can go to the Menti link, which I've given you, and respond there, right? Okay. So Texas, Tampa, Boston, USA, Delhi. Oh, okay, people are awake in India also, like me. Okay, so my neighbors are also there, Kalyanji. I'm also sitting in Delhi currently. Okay, from California. Oh my God. Okay, okay. Princeton, Delhi. I'm sure you know this tool. If many of people write the same thing, the word will become bigger. So USA and California are looking bigger, and San Jose is looking bigger because many people have entered it with the same spelling. Also, it doesn't uh, merge the two different spellings. Okay, okay. So I see 185 of you on Zoom. All 60 of you have already responded. Okay, that gives me a good sense, and I want to take a. And I think it's lovely sitting 11 o'clock in the night. I'm talking Ramayana with people from so many countries, from India to UK to USA. That's a lovely feeling in itself. Okay, that's giving me a good sense. I also want to know, do you? I'm sure. Do you? You all know the basic storyline of Ramayana, right? Like Rama born, got married to Mata Sita, they got exiled, Mata Sita got kidnapped, Hanumanji helped in searching, and then there's a Ram and Ravana war. If you don't know, that's also not a problem. But again, I just want to have a sense. Okay. So I'm able to see almost 95% of people know the basic storyline. Though I think we will dive uh, during our 10-week course far more deeper. But again, okay. And from where did you consume your Ramayana? That's normally gives me interesting answers. So Ramanand Sagarji's TV serial, that's an introduction for many, which was telecasted on Doordarshan in 1986. A lot of people have read the original Ramayana through Sanskrit or through uh, any of the translation, any language. A lot of people followed Tulsi Ramayana. In fact, Ramanand Sagarji's episode is based largely on Tulsi and some other Ramayana. Or you read some other storybook, some other translation, or very known medium, parents and grandparents, like we heard it, or through friends. Okay. Okay. So India is a country of oral traditions. And Kalyanji, I think here also that's seemingly true, that 43%, the majority, heard it through parents, grandparents, or through someone. But only the disturbing trend here that 0% have read the original Valmiki Ramayana. Okay. So, okay. But again, hopefully a 10-week course will create enough interest so that you will yourself start reading 24,000 shlokas of Valmiki Ramayana. Normally, see, if you read even a 50 shlokas a day, within 2 years, you should be able to complete it. Okay. Okay. So because a lot of you know Ramayana, let me test you a little bit, right? With all your permission, Let me test you a little bit. The mentee will ask for your name. Do enter your name and country, name, comma, country, so that we can identify, just have a little fun, that who are our top scholars on the factual part of Ramayana at least. So with that, it will ask for your name, and why don't you enter some very basic questions, some very, very basic questions, just to see how as a group we understand the text of Ramayana. All of you, please, all of you, please, all of you, please keep joining, keep joining. I'm giving the link again. If you're not already on the link, please joining. I see a lot of people on Zoom, but only 65 people are joining on the Menti quiz. It'll be fun. It'll be fun. Okay. Okay. I see now 75, 76. Okay. Let me go ahead with the quiz. Let me go ahead with the quiz. Okay. It will give you 10 to 15 seconds to respond. Okay. So who wrote original Ramayana? Very basic one. In my conversation with Kalyanji, we have already revealed the answer. Rishi Valmiki, Rishi Vashishta, Rishi Vedvyasa, or Rishi Vishwamitra. Who wrote original Ramayana? Ha ha ha. Okay, 95% if you're correct. That's the course Lessons from Valmiki Ramayana, which is a part of our Itihasa tradition. Okay. Tell me, was Rishi Valmiki contemporary of Lord Rama? Were they living, occurring together? So the biographer of Rama, if I can call Rishi Valmiki the biographer of Rama, so the biographer and the protagonist of the story, were they occurring at the same time on earth or not? Aha, the correct answer is they were occurring at the same time. Okay. If you don't know the answer, you can learn it, right? So quiz is also a way to learn new facts. Okay. Valmiki Ramayana is written in which language? Again, Kalyanji, when he was talking to me, he already gave a hint. Sanskrit, Pali, Awadhi, Hindi. And quizzing is one of the important tools during those 10 weeks also. I'll keep you on your toes and keep quizzing you. Keep quizzing you so that you know the facts, and then we will build the discussion around the facts. But at least we should know the facts to build the discussion. Okay, Sanskrit it is. It's written in Sanskrit. And then Valmiki Ramayana has about how many shlokas? Shlokas are Sanskrit couplets. So how many such shlokas are there in Valmiki Ramayana? 108, 1008, 24,000, 5,000. How many shlokas? It's a massive text. It's a massive text. Aha, lovely. 24,000 shlokas. If you take 100 a day, it will take 240 days to complete. Massive text, but a profound text. Okay. Aha, one more question before I want to discuss two conversation. Valmiki Ramayana is divided into 7 parts. What are these parts called? Right? It's a seminal book. So are they called sargas? Are they called shlokas? Are they called kandas? Are they called parvas? So what 7 they have? 7 sargas, 7 shlokas, 7 kands, or 7 parvs? How is Valmiki Ramayana organized? It has 7 kands. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So if you already know they are called kands, let me ask you, okay, in which kand of Valmiki Ramayana Mata Sita got kidnapped? The whole story got turned on his head in that kand. Bal Kand, Kishkinda Kand, Yuddha Kand, or Aranya Kand. These are 4 different kands of Valmiki Ramayana, but in which kand did this happen? It happened in Aranya Kand, in the forest. Aranya means forest. It happened near Maharashtra, Panchwati, near Nasik of today. The kidnapping happened. Okay, let me inquire more into kands. Okay, on your screens now. In which kand Rama is born? On which kand Rama took birth? The hero of our story, the protagonist of the story. Yuddha Kand, Ayodhya Kand, Balakand, Aranya Kand. If you understand these words, the name itself is quite intuitive. That's a hint also. The name itself is quite intuitive. Balkand it is. Bala means Balak, means childhood, the childhood of Rama. 69% if you're correct. Rama is born in Balakand. And the last question in the series, in which kand Rama killed Ravana? Rama eliminated Ravana. Balkand, Yuddha Kand, Kishkinda Kand, or Ayodhya Kand? Okay. Yuddhakand it is. Yuddhakand it is. So from Balakand to Yuddhakand, we have this amazing journey of Rama, Ramayana, the journey of Rama, which is Ramayana. Beautiful. Let me see how you guys did. A lot of you have not changed the name. It picks some random name like Carl, Gustav, and Kathy. Okay, so someone who put his name as Carl Gustav as won the quiz. But again, that's lovely. A lot of you played beautifully. But again, that's having set the tone. Let me structure the Ramayana for you. As Kalyanji was saying, we have various Ramayans: Tulsi Ramayana, Kalidas Ramayana, Kamman Ramayana, Adhyatma Ramayana, Kakavin Ramayana, Ramaki, and very many. In our course of 10 weeks, we will go through Valmiki Ramayana, which has 6 kands, 6 or 7 kands. So from Balakand to Uttarakand, till from Balakand to Yuddhakand, as the story normally known, the 6 kands, and the Uttarakand, the later kand, the post kand, right? After the war, that's Uttarakand. So we will inquire about these 7 kands, which are bound in 645 chapters. Chapters are called sargas and 24,000 shlokas. This is the entity that we're going to study, right? A massive entity which will beautifully bind for you in 10 weeks. I use my own self-designed tools, and these 10 tools will make you dive inside Ramayana. First thing, the narration of the story. So if you don't know the story, I'll keep narrating the story also. So that's one. That will happen, one of the primary things in the 10 weeks course. At around 25 places, we will pick a lesson. Some people call it leadership lesson, some people call it endurance lesson, some people call it live lesson. Whatever it's for you, it's a lesson, right? What can we pick from this conversation? We already know the story, but what lesson can we pick out of it? I'll keep quizzing you so that you don't detract from the facts. We'll do a lot of fact checking also. Like, a lot of people have a lot of confusion about Ramayana, or consciously created confusion about Ramayana. We'll keep clearing them. I love to coin a lot of Ramayana idioms, right? So that some very interesting phrases which you can use on the dinner table while you're talking to your friend, while you're talking to your parents, your kids. You can use them, right? So a lot of idioms which you can use in your daily life. One tool which I personally like is tracing the Rama and Ravana within you. When I was talking to Kalyanji, one conversation came that Ramayana is also a beautiful tool for self-awareness. Leave the lessons, leave everything, leave the story. It's a self-awareness. When those two characters are talking, you can always think, what I would have done. Rama did this, but what I would have done in this situation. Dasharatha did this, Bharat did this, Sita did this. What I as a 21st century person would have reacted in a similar situation, right? And whenever you think you're standing towards Rama, you can call it, you have a Rama type quality. And whenever you are standing with the villain of the story, so to say, so that's why I'm representing a Ravana, you can track a Ravana within you. So keep tracing. That's a personal inquiry. Nobody's checking them. That's not an assignment. I will not ask for this. But then keep doing your self-awareness and keep dividing yourself, your qualities. And we all have Ramas and we all have Ravanas within us. I think my idea is that how can we increase our Rama gunas, Rama qualities, and keep lowering the Ravana gunas, the Ravana qualities, right? In the session, I'll also invite some of you to kill the Ravana within you. Also, one of my favorite tool, Ramayana Tourism. So this journey starts from Ayodhya, goes to Sri Lanka and comes back to Ayodhya, right? So there are very many places. So I'll also take you through in the 10 weeks course, the geographical inquiry and how it maps to today's India. And that's also give you a very good sense of the historicity of Ramayana. We'll do a lot of what if analysis. We'll try to twist the story a little bit to understand it better. What if the situation is like this? What if the situation turns like this, right? And Menti is one of the tools which we'll use extensively to get the response from all the participants, which we are using even today. So these are the 10 tools of inquiry. With this tool, we will dive. It's almost like a scuba diving gear, right? So you need a lot of tools to go inside the sea. These tools will help us to float inside this seminal text of 24,000 shlokas within those 10 weeks. Okay, let's do 2 conversations today. I picked one from Balakand and one from Ayodhya-kand, right? Balakand, this artwork artist was doing. This is a pillar in the starting of Ayodhya. I clicked it myself from my mobile, and how lovely it is, right? Because the Bala Rupam, the childhood form of Rama, is not very common. It's very common with Krishna. So if you remove the bow and arrow, you add a peacock feather, add some butter around, and maybe a flute, the same picture will be a Krishna picture. So yeah, so directly bringing a picture from Ayodhya for you guys. And let me jump to one of the very beautiful conversation. So Ram, Lakshman, Bharat, Shatrughan, born to Dashrath. Their Kulguru, their guru, their teacher was Rishi Vashishta. Then one day Rishi Vishwamitra comes and says, I want to take Ram and Lakshman to kill Talaka, Marich, and Subahu. Right? They're creating mess for us. They're not allow us to do our pujas, our mantras, our scientific explorations. Right? And then during the way, Vishwamitra ji narrates them beautiful stories. The story about Kumbha, the story about how Bhagirath brought river Ganga to earth, and various other beautiful stories. And during the conversation in our 10 weeks course, I'll keep giving such idioms. In a lot of people who follow British English, there's a very common term used in India also for any mammoth big task called, oh my God, what a Herculean effort. I wouldn't say we don't even know who Hercules was. Many of us don't even know the story. Whenever you have tempted to use the word Herculean effort, why don't you switch to the word Bhagirath effort? Bhagirath was the first documented hydraulic engineer who brought the flow of river Ganga from a faraway place to earth. Okay, Ram and Lakshman were taken away to jungle for a purpose by Rishi Vishwamitra, right? And then Ram and Lakshman faced the first crisis in their life. What is the crisis? Crisis came in the form of Marich or Talaka or Subahu or Vatapi. Because till now, they were in the palace. Till now, they were in the palace, very nicely being fed, being trained. But again, this is the first real life crisis they faced in their life. Okay, so the crisis you're saying is Talaka. All of you, please keep responding. I see a lot of you on the Zoom call, but only some of you are responding. No laziness, no laziness. Okay. Okay, Talaka. You're right. Talaka is the first crisis Ram and Lakshman faced in their life. And let's see what is the lesson on crisis, how to manage a crisis, how to behave a crisis. Let's learn the Rama way. And let me pose a question for you. Imagine you are in India, right? You are in New Delhi and you have a flight to catch to US, back to US. You're getting late. You know Delhi traffic. Many of you must have traveled to Delhi. The flight has costed you almost $10,000 for 4 of you. What will you do? And give me a practical answer. Don't give me a goody answer. Give me a practical answer. You know, a challan, a ticket in India will cost you $10, $20. So it's a fight between $20 and $10,000. What will you do really, right? Don't give me a nice answer. Give me a practical answer. You'll break the red light, keeping Delhi rules in mind. You'll take a U-turn. You'll overspeed to reach early, and maybe a challan will come, or you follow traffic rules and miss the flight of $10,000 versus a $20 challan. And maybe some points. In India, currently, they don't even cut points on driving license. Okay, so only 16% of you, when faced with a crisis, a very simple crisis, simple crisis like this, only 16% of you will follow the rules, and 84% of you will do some other strategy. Okay, let's see how Rama handled one for his first crisis. Okay, just imagine that Talaka is standing in front, right? Talaka is standing in front, this huge demon, and Vishwamitra ji says, this is your target, go ahead and eliminate her. Rama takes the bow and arrow, the best of the best, which has the power to eliminate Talaka. He said, okay. And then he says, no, I cannot kill her. Vishwamitra ji says, why? It's almost like Arjuna-like movement when he got the narration of Bhagavad Gita. He says, no, I cannot hurt a woman. I'm being taught not to hurt a woman, not to kill a woman, not to attack a woman, not to raise your weapons against a woman. And now Vishwamitra ji said, you are right, my boy. Even I teach the same to my disciples. But there's a beautiful conversation between Rama and Vishwamitra, the quick one, but a beautiful one. And Talaka is standing in front. The crisis will not leave you alive for long. Like that's a real crisis of life and death. And but Rama's moral compass still on. He want to get his moral compass satisfied before moving ahead. And then Vishwamitra ji says, she's only in the body of the woman. She doesn't have the daya, karuna, mamta, the compassion, the motherhood feeling, that a quality of a real woman. She's only in the body of the woman. She kills children, she kills women, she kills rishis, she kills men, right? So it's okay, it's dharmic to eliminate her. And when his moral compass got satisfied, then only he launched the arrow and eliminate Talaka. Right? A lesson for us: uphold highest of the moral standards even in the time of crisis. See, Ramayana is a text of gold standards on morality, on ethics. Right? It gives you a beautiful dimension of ethical exploration. See, life poses circumstances, right? And we have a choice. I think every moment when you join this webinar on a Saturday, you made a choice, right? There are a lot of other things to do on a Saturday morning, on a weekend morning, but you took this conscious choice, right? Maybe you get benefited, maybe you're not, maybe you join the course, maybe you're not, but you made a choice. After the session, you make another choice. I think try to list your choices that you made in a day. But what Rama did when faced with with a crisis like Talaka, his moral compass was on. He did not say, okay, my morality is for good times, and crisis I will deal whatever hook on crook, right? That's why we are remembering Rama even after 14,000 years, right? Not because he was a practical person, because to my understanding, a King Ram became Bhagwan Ram or Sri Ram or Lord Ram in those 14 years of grit and dharmic life that he has given us, or that he has displayed for us. So uphold highest of the moral standards even in the time of crisis, right? That's conversation number one. We will do 25-30 of some conversations, 3-4 of them. And today, because there's so many of you, I'm not able to talk to all of you. Maybe you keep sharing your comments and keep reaching to me. But during our session, we'll have 30-40 minutes dedicated. Normally, my sessions will be almost 90 minutes, where 60 minutes I will be talking and taking you text responses, and 30 minutes will be oral conversations during our regular course when we'll start in April. Again, some nice tourism for you. It's Ayodhya, Kanak Bhavan in Ayodhya. Kanak means gold, a Bhavan, a palace which looks like gold. And you will be surprised that, who gifted this to Ram and Sita when they came back after marriage? Mata Kekai gifted this to Ram and Sita. And the same Kekai in Ayodhya Kand, because she was poisoned, her brain was poisoned by mantra, changed quite a lot. Rama was appointed as a king. He was chosen as the king by people's representative, by nearby kings, by faraway kings. Dasharatha's court decided that Rama will be the future king, and tomorrow was his coronation. He will be coronated as the king of Ayodhya, as the king of Kosala Empire tomorrow. But Kekai and Mantra conspired, and Kekai asked the two boons which has been pending in her kitty for quite some time. And all of a sudden, there is a situation. Dasharatha has a choice to make. As I told you, life throws you circumstances, and you have to make a choice. So choice number one, shall he agree to Kekai's demand, which are very weird? Because if he does agree to them, he will lose his beloved son Rama. And not only that, Ayodhya will lose an amazing king like Rama, right? The people of Ayodhya will lose an amazing king like Rama. So shall I agree to the demand or shall I not? And that was the situation Dasharatha was in, right? And mind you, the promise between Kekai and Dasharatha was not any written promise. It was like a verbal promise between two of them. There was no testimony. No one knew about this promise. If Dasharatha goes back on the promise, nobody can even point that out, because nobody heard that promise. Tell me, and you are my modern Dasharathas of today, if you are King Dasharatha, what will you do? Right? You don't have any signed agreement with Kekai. It's just a verbal promise. And Kekai asked for these two weird demands, that make my son Bharat as the king and send Rama to jungle for 14 years. And tell me a practical answer again. Don't give me a wishful answer. Give me a practical answer. You have to give a good king to Ayodhya. And he's your son. He's going away for 14 years. You're already old. You may never see him. Right? So give me a practical answer, please. what will you do? Will you reject the demand because you love his son? You reject the demand because you love Ayodhya? Ayodhya will lose such an amazing king. Or you will agree to the demands. Or you will say, okay, Kekai, I've given you 2 demands, but what you are asking is too weird, right? Rama is a chosen king. Like people, representatives, if my court, various kings from outside, various kings from away from a jurisdiction, people's representative, based on various metrics, have chosen Rama as the king. I can't just send him away just because you have some whims, right? Okay, okay. So 18% of you would have agreed to the demands. And rest of you, almost 82% of you would not have agreed to the demand, would not have kept the promise. Let's see what Dasharatha has done. Let's see what Dasharatha has done. So you are my modern Dasharathas and modern Ramas. Let's see. Dasharatha said, promise is a promise, and very beautiful chopai in Tulsi Ramayana, very famous. People use it in day-to-day language in India. Raghukul Reet Sada Chali Ai, Pran Jaye Par Vachan Na Jaye. Meaning, Raghukul Reet is the tradition in the Raghu dynasty. Raghu was one of the forefathers of Dasharatha. It's a tradition in Ishwaku dynasty, in Ayodhya's empire, in Kosala empire, that you can lose your life, but you will not go back on your words, right? He has 2 choices. He could have always turned back the promise, but he says, promise is a promise. I know Ayodhya will lose a king like Rama. I know I may not be able to live. I cannot live without Rama. I cannot breathe. I cannot eat. I cannot sleep without seeing Rama every moment. So if Rama goes for 14 years, I will surely lose my life. And he did also. After a couple of months, he died, right? But even then, to uphold the promise that if the king will not will not uphold the promise, who will? And that's the justice. That's the justice of that time, right? And mind you, this agreement between I'm reiterating myself, this agreement between Dashrath and Kekai was not even documented. No one heard this promise. No one knew about it. There was no testimony. Even then, just to uphold the promise, he kept on the promise, and he gave away his life after a couple of months, right? Beautiful lesson. And I also do this analysis, what if? Like, what if, like my modern Dashrathas, like this, like my modern Dashrathas, all of you, if Dasharatha would have denied the demand, maybe Ramayana would have been very different. No exile for Rama, no kidnap for Mata Sita, no Ravan, maybe no Ravan kidnapping, and maybe some other situation would have arrived for Rama and Lakshmana to come together, right, in a war battle. Okay, okay. So we will do. So this is just a teaser for the conversation. We will do far more evolved conversation, talking to a lot of you, a lot of other inquiries, right, and almost 25-30 of them in those almost 6 starting weeks. So I'll go week by week plan in next 5 to 6 minutes, right? As I told you, we will also do a geographical journey of Ramayana during our 10 weeks course. So I'm just pointing out the some of the known places now, from Ayodhya to Prayag, which was earlier named as Allahabad, Prayagraj, then to Chitrakoot, where Bharat and Rama met, Chitrakoot to Panchvati, where Mata Sita was kidnapped, then Panchvati to Kishkinda, where Rama made a very strategic partnership with Sugriva and Hanuman, and then Kishkinda to Rameshwaram, right? From where Hanumanji went inside the sea, he swam, he jumped, and he reached Lanka to search Mata Sita. So now, why don't you all open your Google Maps? Just all open your Google Maps and try to find the distance between Ayodhya of Uttar Pradesh, and this tip, we are able to see this tip in Rameshwaram. It's called Dhanushakoti, and try to find the distance. So on your Google Maps, why don't you find the distance between Ayodhya of Uttar Pradesh and Dhanushakoti of Tamil Nadu, right? Don't answer without checking. Don't answer without checking. It'll be lovely if you can go back and check on your Google Maps. The exact will be, in fact, in the chat, you can write exactly what exactly it's showing, what exactly your Google Maps is showing, right? Somaliji, 471 kilometers. No, you're not. 2481. Ruchika ji, 25. Yeah, it should be around that. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I'm just doing this exercise, and I'll do a lot of these distances on Google Map just to establish that how long they finally walked and traveled in those 14 years. And from there, the Rama Setu, the Nala Setu was built. They reached Lanka, and the almost a month-long battle happened between Rama's army and Ravana's army. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, okay. So that's also one of the tool. We'll do a geographical exploration and also set in the context how the place looks now. I'll show you amazing pictures also during the course in those 10 weeks. Okay. Okay. Okay, tell me, who is the most inspiring character for you? So now I'm towards the end of my conversation, but I just want to take a sense. Who's the most inspiring character from you from Valmiki Ramayana and why? Just write the name of the character and also and put a dash and then say why. Just write one line. Also keep writing why. A lot of you are writing Ram, Hanuman, Sita. Keep writing why also. Okay. So I'm also able to see your chat. Sita for her love and patience. Okay. So love and the patience, the qualities that you're identifying. Okay. Hanumanji for his devotion. Shabari who teaches devotion. Hanumanji is the epitome of bhakti. Lakshmana, he did not really need to go. Exactly. Lakshmana was not ordered to be exiled, right? He chose, Lakshmana and Sita chose to join. Vibhishana because he chose his own path. He was part of Ravana's team, but he chose his own path. Rama, you don't know why. Hanumanji for dedication. Hanumanji seems to be the most favorite one, if I'm not wrong. For Bharat for keeping the kingdom in good state. Exactly. Okay. Urmila who accepted this. Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay. Lovely set of audience. I'd love to see all of you in the 10 weeks course, and it'll be lovely to dive deep into each and every aspect of Ramayana. Okay. Lovely. Okay. I got the sense. Okay. So let's kill the Ravana within. That's one of our major exercise. As in the conversation with Kalyanji, it came that Ramayana is also a beautiful text of self-awareness, right? And okay, just something comes to mind. Nobody is getting to know who is writing, so you can do a publicly declare that this is during Corona last 10 months. There are a lot of time for introspection. Any Ravana quality, any bad quality within you want to kill today, maybe that's a good opportunity, right? I'm killing my procrastination. I was doing this Ramayana sessions for a lot of colleges, a lot of schools, a lot of universities, but offline, right? I thought, okay, I was feeling a little lazy how to convert the whole thing, which tool to search, right? And then I did from Zoom to Menti to various other tools, through crosswords, through a lot of puzzles, through word search. We designed a beautiful close, and now I'm able to reach many of you. Okay, greed, anger, ego, desire, patience. Okay, during our 10 weeks course, we'll try to dive deep into all of these and say how through various characters all of this will manifest beautifully. Okay, and last 2 slides. And okay, I think this we already discussed. I thought I will do this inquiry with you guys, but I think during my conversation with Kalyanji, is Ramayana, Valmiki Ramayana myth or history, and also can you prove it? Okay, a lot of you are saying it's history, but can you prove it or not, right? If you remember, I was just alluding to that how Indian text is divided into Shruti and Smriti. Under Smriti is Itihasa, and Itihasa, we have 2 Itihasa, Valmiki Ramayana and Mahabharata, right? And we will do one almost full session or half a session during a 10 weeks course to understand how Indian text is organized, right? And while replying to Kalyanji, I was also trying to allude to that how Itihasa is not exactly history, right? History is maybe for documentation purpose. A lot of myth is only for entertainment purpose. But the definition of Itihasa is Purva Vrittam Katha Yuktam. Happened in the past, narrated as a story. Element number 1, it should have happened in the past. Means it's a true account, right? It's not a fictional story. Element number 2, it is narrated as a story. right? The story form, which is entertaining form, so that it will last long, right? But not for entertainment, for the purpose of dharma, artha, kama, moksha. If a text qualify all of these three, then only it's itihasa, right? And we'll do further inquiry during our course. Okay, so a 10 weeks course structure. So 10 weeks will have these elements. Oh, okay. Just give me a second. First we'll understand the journey of Rama and various nuances as narrated by Rishi Valmiki, the scholar Valmiki in Valmiki Ramayana. That's the first objective, right? Other will be there are various characters of Valmiki Ramayana. Normally, we know about Ram, we know about Lakshman, we know about Mata Sita, but there are various characters like Rakshasa Kabandh, like Jatayu, like Urmila, the wife of Lakshmana, like Vibhishan, like Tara, right? Like Ruma, the wife of Sugriv, Tara, the wife of Bali, Bali himself, a beautiful conversation between Bali and Rama when Rama kills Bali, right? So all those interplay will be okay. One thing we will try to evaluate every situation, relationship, character, incident in Valmiki Ramayana. That's why we'll do very slowly, kand by kand, right? One more thing that we will do in the course is we will also do a geographical journey of Rama and see how from Ayodhya to Sri Lanka it's going on, right? And whenever you're in India already, you should go to those places and do an inquiry that how the legend is still there, right? So that's from national maps of India, international maps, that what is the awareness of the geography in those times, right? Oh, sorry, I'm clicking always. And the last thing is we will discuss and debate the various nuances on two things: historicity of Ramayana, dating of Ramayana, and lot of science behind lot of seemingly magical looking things, right? So these are the 5 things you can expect from the course. The course will be structured something like this. First 6 weeks I'll spend on each of the kand. Balakand, which is the childhood of Rama; Ayodhya Kand, the exile of Rama; Aranyakand, the abduction of Ram's wife, Mata Sita; Kishkinda Kand, Rama's partnership with Sugriv and Hanuman; Sundarkand, Hanuman's successful search of Mata Sita; and Yuddhakand, the battle of Dharma between Ram and Ravana. In all these 6 kands, we'll go through the characteristics of each and every character, their interplay, their discussion, and whatever is coming out of what lessons can we learn. Then once the story is over, we'll the 7th week we'll spend on the historicity and the dating of Ramayana, right? And then the week number 8 we will spend behind various inquiries behind various incident on Ramayana, right? Which may seemingly look magical, like how can something fly then? What is the concept of Pushpak Vimana? Was Hanumanji a monkey, or how, if he's a monkey, how can he talk? How can he? So what is our historical text? What is our itihasa exactly referring to, right? Week number 9 is a revision of top 10 arguments. So in week 1 to week 8, there will be multiple arguments, right? Which we will try to learn through Ramayana. But again, week 9 will be spent on the revision of all these arguments, right? Revision and even further diving deep on these arguments, right? Week number 10, online quiz. Today we did only a couple of questions. Online quiz, whatever we have covered in, and there'll be some assignments on which you will be evaluated also. I think, Kalyanji, that's from me. Hopefully I was able to convey what I'll do in detail in those 10 weeks. So any questions and answers?
Sure. Can you kind of stop sharing for a minute?
Yeah, I'll stop sharing. Yeah.
So we'll just take a few questions here. Okay. Yeah. But before that, let me do a couple things. One is I'm going to type in the link for the course. I just did that. Okay.
Oh, so, this is the course. Okay, this is the registration. Okay.
If you click on that, you'll go to the course description on the HUA's website. And
I think it's a good time for all the participants just to click the link and keep it open, so that even after the session they can spend 15 minutes. So I also request all of you to just click on the link and keep it open.
Yeah. And then the next thing is I'm going to do a quick poll. Okay, I'm going to launch a poll. There are 2 questions in the poll. The first question is, are you interested in the course, enrolling in the course Lessons from Valmiki Ramayana? Second question is, would you be open to a call from HUA? To kindly answer the questions, everybody please answer the questions in the poll. Okay, I want you to you know, record your answer. You can say no, you can say maybe, not interested, that's also fine. I would like to get a response from as many of you as possible so that we can appropriately take some follow-up action. Just, even if you want to say no, that's okay. You kindly just answer. Just say no, I'm not interested. Don't call me. That's fine too. Okay. We will honor your request. Yeah. Okay. So 66% have answered. I'm going to give you a few more seconds. I want to encourage everybody to just answer the questions. It's pretty easy. Okay. All right. May I close the poll now? So we got about 70% of the people who, 71% who have answered the questions. Yeah, I mean, let me say a couple of things. As I'm going to keep the poll on for a bit, right? See, I think Ramayana is a timeless narrative, and what makes it timeless is that it has value for us in our time in ways we may not even perhaps readily comprehend, right? And ultimately, it is addressing the human aspirations towards kama, artha, dharma, and moksha. That is the Hindu cosmology. Wherever we are, whether we are young, whether in our teen years, or whether we are in the Middle Ages, or whether we are elderly, Ramayana will speak to us. And that's my experience of these texts, is that they continue to speak to us newly and freshly in surprising ways. Even though the contemporary mindset is to dismiss these texts as ancient, old, and perhaps obsolete, right? What amazes all of us who engage in these studies is that the ancient is as relevant now as it used to be then, right? So you don't need to be fluent in Sanskrit, I don't think. So Shantanuji will take you through the course without Sanskrit, and all it requires is a certain attitude of Shraddha to enter the text, and who knows, maybe you'll be inspired to go through the whole text completely, the Valmiki Ramayana, on your own eventually. Okay, now I think we've got nearly 78% who have responded. I'm going to close the poll now. So we'll take the answers we've received. Thank you all for responding to the poll. Okay, I've ended the poll. This is the outcome of the poll. There are 46 people who are saying yes, you're interested. 20 people no. 68 people maybe. Would you be open to a call? 63 people are saying open to a call. So we'll figure out, how it's going to unfold here. So here are the poll results. You can take a quick look. All right. So with that, let's take a few questions now. Okay. So I'm going to pick out some questions. in the from the Q&A box. So here is a question, interesting question. There is a did Valmiki consider or project Ram as a god? I'm gonna use the word, instead of using God as an avatar. Let's use the word, our own word, avatar of Vishnu during his own time. Was the author Valmiki contemporary to Rama also? Yeah, and I think the contemporary aspect of it has already been answered, right? He was a contemporary. In fact, the in the Uttarakhanda, Love and Kush, the children of Rama, end up in Valmiki's ashram along with Sita. Now, but did Valmiki consider Project Rama as a avatar of Vishnu in the Valmiki Ramayana, or did he simply consider him just a great human being? Question for you, Shantanuji.
Okay. So yeah, I think a very interesting question, and I think if such participant will come to the class, I'll be the happiest person. So I think my answer is no. So he did not, right? And I'll give you two three references from Ramayana. So when Mata Sita got abducted, this is one of the few times. So they're only one of the few times where you find Rama very emotional, either angry or either sad. When Mata Sita got kidnapped, like there are almost 700 shlokas which are describing that I will burn this earth, I will dry up the water. How can someone take away my wife? And that also shows how close Ram and Sita's love and affection was, right? But again, he behaved like any human being who will lose his loved and dear ones, right? And if he wanted to defeat Ravana as a god, right? Like, you don't need a Sugriva, you don't need a Hanuman, right? You can just go fly, or maybe just by Ichha Shakti, just by a power sitting wherever you are, find out. You don't need Hanuman's exploration, right? And so neither did he go back to Bharat as like a weak human being. Okay, why don't you help me, and I will suspend my Vanvasa Dharma for some time. Let's find out Mata Sita, and then I will continue my. He said, I will find an ally within here. Like a human being, he did all the strategic things and fought a war in which he almost got fainted twice by Indrajit, right? So he faced so many downfalls. That's not godly, right? So Valmiki did not read. Yeah, some of the later authors, even Ramacharitmanas, you'll find like a very superhero kind of persona of Rama, but not in Valmiki Ramayana.
So basically what you're saying is, by the time we come to Ramcharitmanas,
yeah,
the sense that Rama was a avatar of Vishnu is much more clearly in place in the consciousness of the community, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And in fact, the Ramayana is a very ancient text. It predates the Mahabharata.
Yeah,
it predates many of the Puranas, like you take Harivamsa or Vishnu Purana and so on, which are later texts that create the the story of Vishnu. And that is when Rama gets incorporated into the avatar, the 10 avatars of Vishnu.
Yeah.
All right, so let's take a couple more questions. Somebody is saying, why do you say Rama, or why don't you say Ram? What is the right way of saying it?
So a lot of people do object me. So see, it's not even Ram, it's not even Rama. It's somewhere in between, a half matra in Sanskrit, Rama. But again, saying that like in a flow becomes very difficult, right? Rama, it stops you, right? When you speak English in a flow, you either say Ram or you become Rama, right? So I'm saying, yeah. So I and every participant should be conscious that call it Rama. But yeah, but I think we get a little loose and say Rama, Lakshmana, but they're not either Ram, Lakshman. They're not even. So North Indians make it Ram, Lakshman. South Indians make it Rama. It's somewhere in between, right? There's Rama, Lakshmana. So yeah, good that you pointed that out.
In fact, in Tamil, for example, it becomes Ramar.
Ramar.
Ramar, which is a respectful way of saying Rama, Ramar. Yeah. All right. So, this, how long is the session? Well, the course itself is about a 10-week long course, and it meets once a week for about 90 minutes per week. It'll take you through a leisurely exploration of the Ramayana with a lot of interactive, online interactive sessions, much like the one we're having today. So it should be very easy to go through it. All right. So let's take one more. So today, everyone hears activists and politicians, everyone who wants to be noticed, whipping up Sri Ram and declaring how cruel he was to have asked Sita for Agni Pariksha, then disowning her. Sri Ram so arrogant that after he became king, he disowned Sita in spite of the Agni Pariksha. Now, obviously there's a lot of back projecting from contemporary times onto the text by current day readings of the Ramayana. But Shantanuji, you want to take a quick shot at that? Or,
So in fact, the toughest conversation where a lot of people have done their research are two. One is the Bali Vad, the killing of Bali, hiding behind the tree by Rama, and the Mata Sita's exile or Mata Sita's Agni Pariksha, right? We will do a detailed inquiry during the course, but again, I'll give you a teaser and you can find yourself. See, as an individual, you have a lot of dharmas, right? I am somebody's husband, somebody's brother, somebody's father, and I have a lot of these roles to play, right? And these roles, these dharmas are conflicting in many of times, right? And that's the beauty of Ramayana. Ramayana is not about choosing between good and bad, because that's a very easy choice. Anybody will go with the good. It's between one good and another good. That's why it's a very nuanced text. And similarly with Mahabharata, both the choices are quite competing. So for Rama, there were two competing dharmas: Parivar Dharma or Patni Dharma or Raj Dharma. And then he chose one. We will do a detailed inquiry, but this is a teaser for you. He had two conflicting dharmas. Which one to choose? What was more important for him to establish the seat of dharma for long? Parivar Dharma or Raj Dharma? Right. But yeah, I'll leave it that. I will leave it that.
Yeah. So there's someone who's saying, I for the text to be relevant today, the depiction of women in it is something I struggle with as a woman. Sita's treatment is one problem. Shurpanaka punished for falling in love with Rama, if I remember correctly. Or women are Rakshasa. I think this text is very relevant and powerful, but something I struggle with. And I think, it's more of a comment than a question, but I thought it's an important comment, so I wanted to reference this comment. I think this is an important topic that arises at the confluence of not only the times we live in, but also the value systems that we have imbibed in our contemporary times, and potentially its seeming conflict with the value systems of a prior era. Okay, and I think that it's a question that's worth bringing to the course, to the exploration of the course. Whether you will be able to answer those questions satisfactorily for yourself. It's a matter that you and all of us individually will have to determine for ourselves. At the end of the day, if there is something that we cannot accept given our current value system, current views and attitudes in life, it's okay to let go of something that you don't accept while taking what you can. So I think that kind of re-evaluation is a very legitimate re-evaluation. After all, the text is meant for you, and it is meant for your pursuit of artha, kama, dharma, and moksha. And the objective is then to take from it what will work for you, your life, for your pursuits of these Purusharthas. We'll leave it at that as a response to that comment, okay? Yeah, there are a lot of comments, okay. What is the significance behind the Agni Pariksha? So I think, do you want to take these questions now, or shall we look at?
These are like these are my course content.
Yeah,
and
that's
we
what I
spend
thought.
Quite
That's
a
what I
lot of
thought.
time on this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a question. Let me at least say that. Okay, the significance or message behind the Sita's Agni Pariksha, very controversial, isn't it? I mean,
it is.
From a contemporary perspective, one could take the position: how can Rama insist that Sita go through this Agni Pariksha? What is the significance of that? What is the meaning of this? How could it is so controversial from our contemporary sensibilities, if you will, right? So I think these are questions that would be addressed in the course itself, and I think we should in detail. So you should take them to the course. Okay, so there's a question about Treta Yuga, Kali Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, dates and times. I'm going to leave it to the course itself. Okay, when was Valmiki Ramayana actually written or narrated? It probably was narrated first before it was written.
Exactly. But again, we spend one of the session on dating, and there are various datings. Dr. Nilesh Oak has done one of the latest ones, getting quite known. There are other datings also. We'll discuss those dating techniques also, and a couple of scholars can take it ahead and find out there, try to emerge with their own dating. But I'll explain and present them the current datings that are popular. How's it dating? Yeah.
Right. So I mean, there is a mystery there, okay, and I wanted to highlight that the let's consider the possibility that in taking a historical story and transposing it into a cosmic, timeless canvas, okay, such that the story comes alive again and again for generations and generations of people. There was some scrambling of time that happened in the narrative in this text itself that made it particularly difficult to fix the date in a very easily. Okay, so that's why there are a lot of different dates that people have derived or proposed for the Ramayana, and it's not a matter that is settled so easily, and perhaps it will never be settled. And I think we should allow for that possibility as well. We will have hypotheses about certain things which may never fully know. And I think,
sorry.
Yeah, I mean, what I wanted to say was that there are mysteries. In fact, our human life itself is a mystery. Why were you born, and why do you die, and what's the point of this all? These are all mysteries that are perhaps not readily apparent to us, right? And I think that in Hinduism, one of the redeeming features of Hinduism, Hindu Dharma, is that it allows for these mysteries to remain mysteries instead of bringing it into the purvey of human certainty. And if you think about human history, human certainty is a bigger danger than the sensitivity around the abiding mysteries of our lives. As soon as a people become certain of themselves, they become a risk to all others around them. So, just a comment. Over to you, Shantanuji.
I just wanted to add. So let's say a lot of scientists dating Ramayana, people who are dating Ramayana, the method is smart. So out of the 24,000 shlokas, there are almost 570 plus shlokas, which has a reference of some star, moon, sun positions, right? and they've mapped those star position into modern today's astronomy software, right? And based on that, they have occurred at what time and point that chronology can happen, like because they lived for normal 70, 80, 100 years, right? In which 100 years that can happen in last millions of years, and it point out to a certain date. And so the inquiry that these scientists are doing is very, very scientific, and it's mapping today's softwares also. Now the interpretation of couple of shlokas are only is the matter of debate. So even that science have evolved quite a lot, right? Which we will discuss during the course. So yeah.
Right. So, I mean, see, the one of the problems with these dates is that when you look at uh, the dates that emerge from this type of astronomical analysis, using this planetarium software and so on and so forth, that Nilesh Oak is doing and Narahari Achar is saying, the dates are so far back in time that they completely confound the Western understanding of history, of human history. Okay. And this is a problem for them.
Yeah.
It's a problem for them. Okay. It's a huge problem for them. And so how do they deal with this problem? How does Western historians, Western scholars, Indologists, how do they deal with the problem? I mean, they come up with a date that is so far back in time compared to everything they know about Greece and Rome and Athens and Noah and Abraham and all the Western narratives. They're so much later than the dates of the Ramayana, right? So how do they deal with this problem? Okay, if you think about it, there's one way they deal with it, and one way uniquely they deal with it. They propose, they hypothesize that all these dates are fraudulent. They uniformly come to the conclusion that the writers, the ancient writers, Valmiki and Vyasa and all these people, they put all these dates into these texts, these astronomical positions into these texts, explicitly for the fraudulent purpose of confounding the contemporary 21st century, 20th century, and 19th century Western Indologists. And that is their explanation. Okay, we leave it at that. There's nothing more to be said about that. So let's take a look. Here's a question. What is the difference between Valmiki Ramayana and Tulsi's Ramcharitamanas? Shantanuji.
Okay. So Valmiki Ramayana is the original text. Valmiki, if you can say, is the original biographer of Rama, the journey of Rama, which is, as per Dr. Nilesh Oak, is 14,000 years, written 14,000 years back. Based on some other historians, is 5,000 to 7,000 years back. So Valmiki is the original creator of Ramayana, all those 24,000 slokas. Tulsi Ramayana, which happened very recent based on the bigger canvas of Bharatiya history, which is 450, 500 years back, written in Awadhi, which is still spoken in eastern UP and Bihar, right? And there the verses are called chopais. It can be sung very easily, where Rama was portrayed as a superhero and useful for that context, that time, right? So it's a very later adaptation of the original Valmiki Ramayana.
Yeah. So can you attend the course simply by reviewing the recordings of the course? Technically, it is possible because every class recording will be posted into the learning management system. Okay, and you can review it at your own time. But I want to add the caveat that it's not meant to be used as simply for you to review later on at your own time. The ideal way to take the course will be to actually attend it live along with all the other fellow students. And then later on, if you have to miss a few sessions, you can review the classes later, review the videos later, no problem. All right, let me pick up one more question here. A lot of interest in the dating, Kali Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, Treta Yuga, etc., etc. Why couldn't the army reach Lanka by air or by boat? So, interesting. So you should all go and look up the Rama Setu, the bridge that Rama's built, and that how the traces of that bridge continue to exist today, Rama Setu. And the British came and looked at it and said, "This doesn't look like a natural formation. It must have been built a long time ago by human agency." And what did they do? They renamed it Adam's Bridge. Because Adam was the oldest man they knew about.
Right.
In their theology, so to speak. And so, but ultimately, it was the bridge, the Rama Setu, that was used for the crossing over. All right, everybody. I think we are almost at the end of the webinar. I'm going to invite all of you to consider. I'm going to invite all of you to consider registering for the course. I've pasted the link again in the chat box, so you can click on it, go to the course page, look at it, look at the dates and times, see if it works for you. The course is priced at $200, so if you can, that's a fairly small amount. So I encourage all of you to, consider registering for the course. With that, it's very late for Shantanuji. It's almost midnight for him. Thank you so much, Shantanuji, for joining us today for this webinar.
It was lovely.
We look forward to the course itself. Thank you. Namaste, everybody.
Thank you. Namaste, everyone.
Bye-bye. Namaste.